In today's show, some much-needed Trailblazers optimism. Listeners share their rosiest takes for the upcoming Trailblazers season. Welcome to Locked On Blazers. Let's get into it.
You are Locked On Trailblazers, your daily Portland Trailblazers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What's up, world? Past first point guard and Trailblazers reporter Mike Richmond. You listen to another episode of Locked On Blazers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, available wherever you get podcasts and also on YouTube. Thanks for making this show your first listen, coming at you each and every weekday, Monday through Friday. So make it a part of your daily routine. Make your first listen. Tell your friends to do the same. It's Locked On Blazers, your team every day. In today's show, a much-needed injection of Blazers optimism. I asked listeners to share their rosiest takes, their most realistic, optimistic takes for the upcoming 2024-2025 Trailblazers campaign, and I'm going to share them with you. Yes, indeed, it is a pro-joy podcast, and today is all about the joy that folks hope to see in the upcoming season. They've got a pretty wide range, some fun responses. I'll share them all with you today. Here's how we got here. I really like interacting with the community here. I don't do it on social media because I find social media to be a drag, and it's a place where people like to get upset about stuff. But I've really come to cherish the folks who email me regularly at lockedonblazerspod@gmail.com. And one of those people who's been doing that for several years is longtime listener Dr. J. And Dr. J is a noted Blazers optimist. Some would say a homer. I'll say Blazers optimist. Dr. J might say homer. In any case, get an email that says, I don't think the Blazers are going to be as bad as you think, Mike. I don't know. They might be a little better than you think. Like if the team is healthy and Shaedon Sharpe makes the requisite jump and they don't make any moves and they run this group back and you have some veterans and the roster makes a little bit of sense. Like I think you're wrong. They might not be as bad as you think. And we went back and forth a little bit. So it's the beauty of the email, lockedonblazerspod@gmail.com. Send me civil, thoughtful emails. I'll respond. Go back and forth a little bit. Dr. J says takes a step further, goes to the edge of the waterfall and then says, screw it, I'm jumping in. Dr. J says, I think the Blazers might be better than the Clippers. I think the Blazers could be better than the Lakers. I think the Blazers could be better than the Kings. Now that's a take. Now that is a that is a truly optimistic take. And I think for longtime listeners, shout out to my everydayers. I appreciate y'all. That I'm probably lean towards more pessimism. Some of it is like this cold-hearted realism of someone who's covered the league. But in general, I'm a little pessimistic. That's why I kind of developed the mantra of hold on to your joy, because it helps you fight the pessimism. But my general response is to respond something snarky and a little more pessimistic. But instead I said, you know what? This is the type of optimism that this fan base needs right now. I think things in Blazerland feel just so uncertain and unsettled that we all could use a little more Dr. J in our lives, where it's like, you know what? You're wrong. Not only do I think this team's going to be better than you think, I think they're going to be freaking the 9th best team in the West. I think this is a play-in team. All they got to do is stay healthy. I believe all these old teams are old. They're cracking. It's just breaking right. It's going to break right around them. So I set out to social media and I asked Blazer listeners, where I have enough of a following to have a little bit of traction. Even if I hate social media, it is the best way to directly connect with many of you, and I'm thankful for that. At least in moving in that direction, the best way for you to connect with me is still the email. Best way for me to connect with you is probably social media. And I asked listeners on social media or fans on social media. I don't know that everybody who responded listens. I would assume some don't. To share your rosiest, most optimistic, but sort of realistic take for the Blazers season. So that's what we're going to do today. I'm just going to share you positive Blazers thoughts from your fellow Blazer fans, because if you're listening now and the Blazers are kind of, they're in the waiting game with free agency and the roster's full and they got to make some trades. And if they make some trades, the implication is that they're probably going to get like worse in the immediate term, and talking about getting worse and losing and tanking and blah, 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 blah. And the big white kid going to Duke. Like, I will have plenty of time to talk about that. Now I want to talk about positivity. And I think the positivity kind of falls in three categories, maybe more like three and some change with some miscellaneous ones. The first category, though, I want to share with you here is nonsense. I love nonsense. Sheriff of Portland at Sheriff PDX shared optimism. Sheriff shared some optimism. Beer prices dropped $2 a pour in the arena. I love that. Going to sporting events is expensive. It's expensive. And if you're going with a friend or a partner of some sort, and you're not splitting drinks, like you're talking a third figure. You're talking hundreds of dollars of food and beverages if you want to drink a second beer. And if you're not an alcohol drinker, a lemonade is a lot of money. Like they got a little lemonade stand right by the media seating. That thing is expensive. I never would buy a lemonade. But like I would buy an expensive beer when I go to the game. I haven't been to a Blazer game as like a fan, as a non-media member in a long time. I'm going to have to remedy that at some point. But I love this. That's just like, here's my most optimistic take for the Blazers season. Who knows what's going to happen on the basketball court, but it might be a little bit cheaper for me to go enjoy the games. Thank you, Sheriff. The next little bit of optimism comes from Glocky Molo at Ricky Bell's PDX, who offers this. We can relatively easily turn on our TVs and watch the Blazers play all of their basketball games. Now that's optimism. I think, today was reported by The Athletic that the NBA has reached its media agreement deal. TNT's out, Amazon's in, Apple TV's probably going to be in the mix too. We're going to have, it's going to bounce around streamers, but Prime and ESPN held on to the Disney held on to the NBA finals. It's like, yeah, it's going to get weirder to watch national games and who the rights, where they go and what lives where. And like, I think eventually for local fans, we'll get an over-the-air television broadcast. We'll get over-the-air television broadcast. I'm not super optimistic that it'll be this season, but I like Glocky Molo's optimism. It's only July. It could happen by October if you believe. I mean, the way Root Sports got moved on Comcast happened like the week before the season started. The real hoodwink. So maybe they get a reverse hoodwink. I don't know what the reverse of a hoodwink is. If you do, email me or share below in the YouTube comments. But yeah, wouldn't it be nice? That's real optimism. I like it. The next one comes from Milford, who offers the following optimism. Shaedon Sharpe enters the dunk contest and dunks over Victor Wembanyama on a 15-foot high hoop and creates a butterfly effect that leads the Portland Trail Blazers to the 2027 NBA championship, and we all celebrate at Lloyd Center Food Court with an Orange Julius. Amen, amen, amen. First of all, an Orange Julius has been like a treat in my family since forever. Shout out to my dad. If you are listening, Dad, we probably haven't had an Orange Julius together since 1997, but maybe we can make it happen. And if the Blazers win the championship, Dad, I guarantee me and you are getting Orange Julius's, even though we probably won't attend the parade together. But in any case, get Shaedon Sharpe in the dunk contest, get him jump over an 8-foot man to dunk on a 15-foot high hoop and creates a rift in the universe that all roads lead to the 2027 finals. That's the type of optimism I like to see. That's what I want to see. That's the type of optimism we love here, is nonsense optimism. Okay, you want to talk some real basketball stuff? That's what we'll do in the second segment, like some real basketball optimism. Join me in that second segment, won't you? First, though, I want to tell you that today's show is brought to you by Gametime, the place for last-minute tickets. You are listening to Thursday, July 11th show, and if you haven't decided what you're doing this weekend, well, Gametime can help you make that decision. They hook it up to 60% off face value of tickets for last-minute tickets. It's the app for procrastinators, and guess what? The Portland Timbers on Saturday host Real Salt Lake at Providence Park, and you can get in the building for $32 on the Gametime app. But right now, I'm looking at the Gametime app. They've got a seat in the club level on the east side of the stadium, the sort of the new updated side of the stadium. If you haven't been there in a little while, $70 to sit in the club level. You got snacks up in the club level. You get hot dogs, get some chips. It's a pretty, little bit of free food, really good seat. It looks like from that view, you'll probably be in the shade. Could be real comfortable. $70 to go sit in the club level, watch the Timbers. That's what Gametime does. They take the guesswork out of buying last minute tickets. So go download the Gametime app today and use the promo code LOCKEDONNBA. You get $20 off your first purchase. Again, super simple how it works. Download the Gametime app. Use that promo code create an account. That's step one after you download the app. Then you create an account. Use that promo code LOCKEDONNBA. That's LOCKEDON NBA. You get $20 off your first purchase. It's Gametime. Last minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. All right, let's keep it rolling with some Blazers optimism. I promised you some real basketball stuff. Here's some real nerdy basketball stuff. Let's do it. Enough nonsense. Let's get into the numbers. This one comes from All Good at Julio Cantu, who offers the following optimism. That Scoot Henderson, Avery Simons, Denny Avdia, Jeremy Grant, and DeAndre Ayton post a +5 differential or better in over 500 possessions together. So that's their net rating, the number of points they allow versus the number of points they give up in 500 possessions, which is like big minute lineups. So they're lineups that play a lot. Here's one for ya. The Blazers have never had this under Chauncey Billups. Never have had a lineup that has played 500 minutes together and had a differential of +5. Some of that is just because of injuries. Dame missed half the season the first year, some trades and teardowns that first season, all the inconsistencies with health last year, the middle year of Chauncey's tenure. They had some opportunities to do it. They just weren't very good. But back in 2021, that's the season that started in December. The 72-game season that started in December and ended with the Dame's 55-point performance against the Nuggets. Way back when, that season, they had two lineups that had over 500 possessions together, according to Cleaning the Glass, and had a net rating or a differential of greater than +5. Dame, CJ, Norm, Rocco, and Nurk. Ballin'. And then Dame plus the bench. Dame, Gary Trent Jr., Derek Jones Jr., Robert Covington, and Enes Kanter. It's been a minute. That feels like a long time ago. Also, I didn't remember how good the Dame CJ, like how functional Dame CJ Norm was. It's a lineup that didn't really make sense, but it was pretty darn good. It worked. Julio, I like it. I like the optimism. That's really optimistic. That's like, if a team has that, probably they're like a low-level playoff team. Because if you have a lineup that you can that reliably outscores teams by, say, 6 points per 100 possessions and gets on the court for 500 some possessions, right? It means that you're relatively healthy and relatively effective, and you have a go-to lineup that wins games. Most teams that are like competitive will have a big minute lineup that is like a positive, because if you have a big minute lineup that's a negative, you're just going to stop playing it. That's how it works. It's just not going to be a big minute lineup because you're not going to lean into it as much. But like that level, both of those had a net ratings in the teens. Those lineups I just shared with you. 5 is much more reasonable. I like it, Julio. This next one, just a straightforward optimism from Joey Devine at Joey Devine, who offers the straightforward optimism. Rob Williams is going to be healthy and awesome again this season. That's the optimism we need. I think I chose not to do this for a variety of reasons. That people like, my optimistic view is that like this player gets traded. That's fine. I like that optimism. You can have that. I'm not yucking your yum. If that's your optimism, go for it. But like, I hope this dude gets shipped out of town is not kind of the vibe I'm looking for. It's not the vibe. The vibe I'm looking for is just like unadulterated, uncut, unfiltered optimism. I'm going to read the whole sentence here again. Robert Williams is going to be healthy and awesome again this season. Now that's optimism. I hope Rob Williams gets back to what he has been, because his peak, it was really, really fun and good. Okay. Then there's this sort of group of I would say, like-minded fans, but not exactly. CXJ at Corey J offers this optimism. Scoot Henderson averages 20 points and 10 assists by cleaning up his finishing on layups and kicking out to Denny Avdia, who hits the same percentage of corner threes that he did last season. Denny hit 48% from the corners last season, according to Cleaning the Glass. If Scoot's a 20 and 10 dude, that is going to be a whole bunch of fun, and it's going to make people forget what year one felt like. I like the optimism, Corey, but how about he get one-upped? Or at least let's flip the other side of the coin. Kevin at KY_PDX. It might be Kai, but I'm going to guess it's KY_PDX offers Shaedon Sharpe becoming a 20-point per game scorer. That's the optimism from Kevin. I like it. I actually think Shaedon Sharpe scoring 20 points per game is relatively within, like, it's very, I don't think it's like likely, just because of the way the roster looks right now. He might come off the bench to begin the year. There's mouths to feed, et cetera, but like, he scored 16 a game last year, and he never got in like a real rhythm. He had one like really good 5-game stretch where he's like playing too many minutes, and that kind of did bump up his averages. But like, more consistency, more improvement from him, a defined role, regular minutes. Like I think him averaging 18 is pretty reasonable, and he could bump up that to 20 with kind of just like things breaking his way a little bit, or like a long stretch at the end of the season when it's a lot of Shaedon, like health or trades permitting, that type of thing. I think Kevin offers some optimism that is relatively achievable. But I like how, and that's why I put these two together. I like how the optimism is like, one person's optimism is like, I think Scoot's going to be a 20 and 10 guy. I think Shaedon Sharpe's going to be a 20-point per game scorer. That's the type of optimism you got to chase this time of year, right? When the games happen, reality sets in, and it's harsh, and it's like it becomes less fun. This is the time of year to dream. So shout out to CXJ and Kevin for doing a little bit of dreaming. Speaking of dreaming, Andrew Tice at TiceMan42 offers the following optimism. Scoot makes the rookie sophomore game, and Shaedon wins MIP, most improved player. I like this. I think, quite frankly, if Scoot Henderson does not make the rookie sophomore game, it's bad. So I thought about not including that part of the optimism, because I think it's bad if he's not. They don't take 3 full teams, but it's like 12 or something like that. 12 rookies and sophomores. You need Scoot to be in that game. You need him to be in that game. But Shaedon wins MIP. Now that's real rosy optimism. That means he took a leap. I think in general and broadly speaking, Shaedon Sharpe is the player that gives Blazer fans the most hope. I think some folks are, Anthony Simons truthers and believers. I think there's people who think DeAndre Ayton is like a borderline all-star, but in general, the person most commonly when you talk to Blazer fans who's like the guy who's going to break out, save the franchise, the next star that's like knocking on the door, it's Shaedon. If he wins the MIP, he probably averaged like 23, 5, and 4 or something like that. Like he's gonna have a monster breakout to win the MIP, because the Blazers are unlikely to be at the top of the standing. Sometimes they give that MIP to like this guy helped a team make the playoffs, like that type of thing, or like a first-time All-Star. But like, yeah, like Shaedon Sharpe, like proving that the hype is real in year 3. Now that's like something to get really optimistic about. Speaking of flipping the coin, though, Trey Giles at Trey Giles offers the following optimism. Scoot wins MIP. That's right. Okay, I'm gonna keep it real with you. I don't like when players that get drafted super high win the MIP or even get mentioned in most improved player in year 2. I think John Morant was the most improved player. I don't get it. He's drafted number 2 overall. He's supposed to get good. That said, Scoot was bad enough in year 1 that if he's like really stinking good, if he's 20 and 10 like Corey J offers, then yeah, he could be in the MIP conversation, because that would mean he would go from like a true negative to like a great young prospect. And then I'll resist it a little bit because I'm a man of principle, but like I won't really, because if he's like, if Scoot's awesome, he will be by definition one of the most improved players in the league. And so even my dumb principles will have to give in to the obvious. Trey offers another one. Klingon makes second team all defense. I love this. We're getting hotter. Let's go. A rookie who's likely to start the season coming off the bench, being named one of the 10 best defenders, and like basically how it works, like, you know, one of the 3 best big, you know, interior defenders in the league. Bam Adebayo Anthony Davis didn't make all defense. And Klingon's going to make second team all defense. Let's go. I love it. That's the type of optimism you need. I think there is like a toxic optimism, right? And I think I am pumping that right now. I don't want to lie. I don't want to lie to you. I know how it is. And I think some people, you know, can say like, this is too much, blah, 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 blah. I'm not trying to set this up as like a real thing that's going to happen. I'm trying to set it up as like, what if you were joyful and hopeful? Klingon makes second team all defense. I think like maybe more realistic, like if you want to step back, sorry, Trey, to step on your optimism a little bit, but like, what if Klingon's just like a monster on defense? Not second team all defense, no awards for it, like maybe all rookie team or whatever, but like no awards for his defense, but it's just like clearly a monster. That's going to feel really good. If he's already in year one, like really good as a defensive big, like that's going to feel special. That's a reason to get that's a reason to have hope. Bring some optimism. Okay, let's close the show with a couple more bits of optimism from your fellow fans. Join me in that third segment, won't you? We're getting hopeful. We're going home. All right, I'm still a pass first point guard, still Mike Richmond. You're still listening to Locked On Blazers. Listen, this is toxic optimism. This is toxic positivity. We're not operating in the real, we're operating in the rosy. So let's keep it rosy. Lil Ucho shares the following bit of optimism. That's at Lil_Ucho. Shea and Scoot make it obvious they are the future of the franchise. This, to me, is the thesis of the year. If you are hopeful about this team and this franchise, the sort of cleanest bit of optimism is without much, without sort of couching this in too many statistical things. Although I like the numbers, that's why I shared them earlier in the show. But like, I think Lil Ucho touches on what is like the most hopeful direction the franchise could have. When you come to the end of the season, it is no doubt about it that, as Lil Ucho says, Shea and Scoot make it obvious they are the future of the franchise. I think that is the best thing that could happen to the Blazers this season. Will it? We'll see. But I think if you're being optimistic, if you're being rosy, if you're being positive, if you're going hard into the sunlight, holding on to your joy. Shout out to my man, Mr. Golden Sun. I listen to a lot of Raffy in this house. If you're heading towards Mr. Golden Sun, or if you don't want to gender it, just the Golden Sun. If it's obvious that Shaedon Sharpe and Scoot Henderson, obvious, like no doubt about it, obvious, they're the future of the franchise when you get to the end of the year, that is a wonderful season for the Blazers, regardless of what their record looks like. And speaking of regardless of the record, everybody knows. Ratto at Matt Ratto offers the following. Scoot and Sharpe look great. That's optimism right there. And after the comma, it's getting more optimistic. They lottery luck into the number one pick. Now we're really getting into the real hopeful stuff. Hook it into your veins. Not only does Lil Ucho get the wish that Scoot and Shea make it obvious that the future of the franchise, but Ratto adds on another little part of the wish. They get the number one pick in the lottery. They get to draft Cooper Flagg or whoever it might be. It's July. The draft is a long time from now, but he looks good. Cooper Flagg looks like the highlights, like walking down Drew Holiday and then stepping into a 3-pointer over Anthony Davis is like, all right, that's a pretty good looking shot from a 17-year-old. That's pretty special. But what if you took it one step further? Shea and Scoot make it obvious the future of the franchise. The Blazers luck into the number one pick, and from Joseph Steckman at Steckman Jr. offers this. The Blazers fight for a playoff spot into early March and then fall back and win the lottery. That's what I'm talking about. This is the most optimistic path. This is it. This is the most optimistic path. This is really like truly, I believe the best case scenario. Because I don't think the Blazers are going to I don't think they're going to mess around and be a postseason team. And neither did any of you. Almost no one. Couple people shared play-in dreams, but almost majority of folks were like dreaming of hopeful draft picks and trades and the improvement of the two young guards. But I think this series of things, why I put it at the end of the episode, why I put them in this order, this comes with a little plan. I do a little planning to put the show together. Lil Ucho. Shea and Scoot make it obvious the future of the franchise. Rado, they look great and they win the number one pick, and Steckman takes it a step further. Joseph Steckman, that is. Steckman at Steckman Jr. The Blazers fight for a playoff spot into early March. So they're just good. They're just like, if you're fighting for a playoff spot in the West, there's like 11 teams. There's like 11 good teams in the West. Then there's like whatever Houston is. Are they one of the good teams? Then there's 12. How good is San Antonio? 13, right? It's like, how good is Utah, or what does Utah do? I don't know. But there's potentially like 13. I think there's really pretty clearly 11 playoff caliber teams, postseason caliber teams in the Western Conference. 8 teams make the playoffs. 10 teams make the play-in. One of those teams isn't even going to make the play-in. Houston would have to join the dance party to get in there. Same with San Antonio. It's going to be tough. And so if the Blazers are like in the mix into March, it means they're one of the very good teams. They're pushing up they're winning 44 games or whatever if they're right in that range, right? I think teams are going to miss the playoffs winning 40, having a winning record. And then karmically rewarded for being competitive, win the number one pick, end up with Cooper Flagg, or again, whoever it may be, but certainly looks like him. That's realistic. I feel like that's the realistic scenario built brick by brick, right? That's the realistic realistic is not the word I'm trying to use. The most optimistic scenario, It's clear what the future is. They're competitive for a lot part of the season, and they're rewarded with the number one pick because they're not quite a playoff team just yet. That's the most optimistic. That's the most zero in. This is the best possible thing that happened to the team this year. But yeah, why not? Knickerbocker at Nikki J55. 2 words. Championship parade. I was hoping someone would do this. Thank you, Nikki J. Yeah. When Damian Lillard was on the franchise, he would always talk about how he envisioned the parade going down Broadway and making the way past El Gaucho, a classic steakhouse here downtown where the Blazers do a lot of business. It's a classic place where they take guys out to dinner, they sign contracts. There's a private room in the back, and they obviously have a relationship with the restaurant. That's a little Blazer inside. So Dame's been there many, many times. It's a classic place of the old front office. I believe the new front office also uses it as well. Dame said he pictured the parade route going by El Gaucho. So when I picture the parade route, I'm with Dame. I'm saying, yeah, I'm going to get my chair up there early. I'm going to take the fam to El Gaucho in the morning, and we're going to wave to everybody as they go by. Maybe, I think the fun thing to do at parades is drink liquor straight from the bottle with one of your favorite role players on the NBA team. I don't know if that's fun, but that's the sort of irresponsible, goofy meme thing to do. Thank you, Nikki J. Championship parade. That's your rosiest outlook. And then this is the kicker, and we're closing the show with this. This is probably the best one we got. Valerie at Feral Roly Poly offers the following bit of optimism. Duop Reith. 3rd team All-NBA. Let's freaking go. Yeah, Duop Reith 3rd team All-NBA is after championship parade because that's real optimism. Hold on to your joy. Life's hard out there. If you're going through it, something major, something minor, life's tough. Sometimes you need a little bit of harmless joy. I hope this episode brought you a little bit of harmless joy. Come back tomorrow and we'll be a little more serious. Tomorrow's show will preview the Blazers Summer League ahead. They play this weekend, and we'll talk about what I'm going to watch, what you might want to be looking for, and just all things Trailblazers Summer League. I appreciate you listening. Tell your friends about the show. I'll talk to you soon.